As Lise pointed out, Council started doing a bridge replacement back in October 2004. The project was just to replace an old timber bridge known as Cunneens Bridge, which is just north of Wollombi. You can see there, we've got Sydney, Newcastle, Wollombi there, centre of the universe, as some people might think out there, but anyway, it's just a half-hour drive from Cessnock. The location of Wollombi is on the Great North Road, which is a road built back in the 1820s to 1830s. It's about 240 kilometres long, and if you have a look at the map there, it starts Parramatta's down in the bottom, might be a little hard to read, Parramatta's around here. Wollombi's about somewhere in the middle there, it heads to Singleton. The reason that the road was built, the only route between Newcastle and Sydney was via shipping. So at the time they needed a more, not just rely on shipping route, they wanted a road route. So in the 1820s, surveyors started looking for a road out towards Singleton Way. So the surveyors basically mapped out the routes loosely based on Aboriginal tracks, and that's how the Great North Road was born. So the Great North Road took about 10 years to build. It was generally built by convicts wearing leg irons. They weighed about 6 kilos each, and generally crews of 70 or so convicts. So considering they took 10 years to build 240 k's of road, our council probably built about 10 or 20 every year. So certainly, obviously, putting people in change builds roads a lot quicker. So you can see maybe it's possibly an option for every council. The option was once they got to a certain point, they could get the leg irons off and they became a road crew. So obviously, they were keen to work through the rock. Some of the rock items that are on the Great North Road, one such as this, all the timber work's gone, but this is a circuit flat bridge buttresses south of Buckety. These were built just by convicts. All the stones have been quarried all by hand, all packed by hand, and that's been there for a lot longer than most of the other items we build today. Another item is Ramsay's Leap, which is about 20 minutes south of Wollombi. It's a 100-metre long retaining wall. I think it's up to about 2.5–3 metres tall. It's all same thing, hand quarried. No mortar is used in any of these constructions. It's all just all the stones cut square, and it's been sitting there for well over 150 years. This is another project we're working on up the road from the bridge. You can see there that there was the original ridge line running up over the top. So all that rock was cut out by convicts, all by hand, and that's the sort of thing that they used to do. And yeah, as I said, they didn't take too long to do it. So, and that little shot there it's probably hard to see, but there's all the pick marks in the rock, which is some of the things that we found out around this bridge. And that's the sort of thing that we have to avoid and maintain, as that's part of the heritage of the site. The current timber bridge, Cunneens Bridge, is actually the third bridge on this site. This one was built in, actually the first bridge was 1833, just as they were heading north on the Great North Road. It was washed out in 1855. They then built another one, a low-level bridge, which then disappeared in 1857 in another flood. And then in 1906, this bridge came into use. So it's been here for 104 years, and it's lucky to be here. It's getting pretty sad. It's a couple of girders have cracked. It's currently down to a 4-tonne load limit. As you can see here, this is one of the wing walls. You can see the new sandstone on the abutments, and there's also some loosely packed stuff in the middle. And of course there used to be a pier there where the steel hoop is. So over the last 100 years the piers have just rotted out. There's really not much left of them, but we're hoping it survives until a new bridge is constructed. Next, so back in October 2004, Jamie, the other designer in our office, back then we only had Silcad, so unfortunately we hadn't come over to the good side. But Jamie started using Silcad. He got out the first design, which was an upstream option, which was basically just the first one we came up with. This was design 1, we'll call it that. And then once we first put that one out to public exhibition, a few people said, well, there's an old cemetery there you're going over the top of, you probably should rethink what you're going to do. So we then moved on to design 2, which is downstream, the other likely possibility. This was a fairly simple design. Once again, it didn't touch the existing bridge and was generally not overly high above the existing road, but that looked like to be the only other option we could come up with. I then produced some early visualisation of what it might look like, and early, I must say, this is back in October 05, I took over the job, and this was just version 7 visualisation, a little bit of green. Didn't have any aerial photos to drape over at the time, so that I thought was okay. We then actually got an old, I think it was Google Maps or something, happened to get an old video. So I managed to get a bit of visualisation done. Purple sky for no obvious reason, it just was purple. One thing I did realise, if you look at some of these jags around the edges, they were 10 metre cross sections. And I was later told if you go with 1 metre, you'll get a much better smooth curve, which we eventually did. So that's one of those things, you just run everything at 1 metre, run your cross-section intervals, filters at 20, and that way you can get the best of both worlds. So the bridge is pretty simplistic, nothing overly great, certainly compared to what I've seen today, it's pretty poor. But then we decided, well, there was a third design done just for the hell of it. This was the easiest route, but initially wanted a 100-kilometre design. So we come up with an 84 long metre bridge, which just had one curve, fairly simple, but of course cut off some land from one owner, and there was also some Telstra issues with that. So that one was quickly thrown away. Then we had design 4 and design 5, which were basically more variations on the original design 2, which was bringing the road close to the existing bridge, trying not to take so much acquisition, and just once it gets 4 and 5, so that became what I thought would have been the last one. And then someone decided, well, maybe we should look at going over the top. So I did another design to go over the top of the existing bridge, which was, so after produced this one again, probably another 12 months later at the time, so it's just an ongoing process. And with all these 6 designs, we decided to send, with an over-the-top option, we had to have a sidetrack because obviously the existing bridge couldn't be used. So I did a first sidetrack, which was parallel to the existing, not too much, and someone wanted a second sidetrack on the other side. So I did that. Then there was a third sidetrack option, further up the other side, which avoided some more heritage rock that we found. And then there was a fourth option, if we really just want to avoid everything that was there. So the yellow indicated some Aboriginal archaeology that might be in the area, so they said, well, it probably would have been cheaper to avoid it, but so we thought, oh well, 4 sidetracks should be enough. As it turns out, none were needed. So the initial visualisation I presented to a council meeting was a little bit better. I managed to get a DTM over a large area, so I was able to get all the hills in the background. Still using the old aerial photo, so it looked a little better than it used to. Managed to get some decent, the guardrail, the fences, all that sort of thing. A bit of sky this time rather than just purple. So put some trees in, and that's the sort of result I come up with, which I was fairly happy with. I didn't think it was too bad. But now, of course, I look back and I think, well, it wasn't that great, and of course, if I had version 10, would have been a lot better. But hopefully next year we'll have it. The next what I did were getting better again. I introduced some, I learned some extrusions. So I then did all the headstocks, I did bridge piers. The transparency of tint was a good way to show where the existing bridge sat under the old one. So that was quite handy. But of course, touching the old bridge turned out to be not an option. The Heritage Council wanted us to, the Heritage Office, wanted us to do so. It was a case of, well, you can get rid of your over-the-top option and go back your up or downstream. So after that, these are some of the videos I produced, which were just fly-arounds, just based on a target camera. They give the councillors a fair idea of what the new bridge would look like without going into too much detail. So that was one of those, and then Anyway, I'll just go back one. And the second one was where I'd put in one of the side tracks that was feasible, where we're looking to build $1 million bridge and the side track was going to be $500,000, so we decided it wasn't really going to be worth building that and then a bridge. So that was a little bit more realistic in terms of just instead of just grey and not much else, there was a bit of colour. So that one was pretty happy with that. And that's as far as I've taken that. And of course, if all upwards there was about 13 designs, that's what they all look like. 4 side tracks, 13 road designs, and it looks more like a one of those sand in the funnel things than any sort of road design I could think of. So another 12 months later, which is about October last year, October the year before, we come up with 2 final options, one upstream, one downstream, which we put out to public exhibition, where I had to again recreate visualisation for everything. This time I had version 8, which was a little bit better. And in the public meeting, I had now managed to get a better aerial photo, so it looked a little more realistic. I put both options together so people could see the height differences between between both options, because some people were worried that the new bridges stand out too not in character with the area of Wollombi. So these are the sort of things that they wanted to know. So I had to produce all these, and that's the actual bridge, and that's a similar spot what it might look like with a bridge downstream. So I made it a little easy for some people to visualise what sort of height difference we might have, because some people thought it was 10 metres above. That's about 2.5 to 3 metres above the existing bridge. So, and that was the upstream option, just to see only a metre higher, but gives them a bit of an idea of what it should look like by the time it's finished. So at this public meeting, I also, some more. We decided not to go with guard fence all the way along. That top photo is Hinton Bridge out near Morpeth, and they had more of like an ordnance, old fence and rail style out of like I-beams and square sections. So we decided that we'd use that, so it looks a little more heritage and attach the guard fence to it. So I then played around with extrusions, got all those to work, so it looks fairly realistic to what might be there in the future. And they also, at the time, the June storms had happened, so they wanted to know what the flood would look like. So that's the area, looking from heading back, that's Wollombi there. That's the bridge in a 5-year event, so it's going to get wet most of the time in any decent storm. And of course, just to prove the point, I did the 100-year event, which is what the June 07 storm was. And these are the actual photos of the June storm in 2007. So looking at it, in that little square there is where the bridge is. That's the, you might be able to see there's a shed just around here. That's the roadway, which is that roadway there. So it's fairly realistic. I was pretty happy with the job it did. Of course, it gives you a bit of an idea of, it gives the public a better idea of what you're looking at. You can give them a set of plans, they're not really sure what it is. But certainly, I'll deviate here, and one thing not to do, and I've tossed up about doing this, whether I should or not, but I'm going to. As I was doing the public presentation, I took out my wife's laptop rather than use the work computer. Now, it sounded good at the time. I thought if I need to do a live demonstration, what could go wrong, as happens here. As I'm doing it, somebody mentioned about bridge floods, which Bill had mentioned earlier. And I was looking for a photo in the June storms. There's a photo of a sign, and the water going around, it was showing the flux around the bridge. So what I did, my wife had a program that would change the desktop wallpaper every 15 minutes on the computer. And in that 15-minute window that I had minimised the presentation to find this photo, that appeared. You're lucky it's pixelated for you guys. Out there it wasn't. Luckily it was only from belly button up. There was nothing really bad there, but it got a good laugh too, so it does work. I should use it more. But yeah, I had to pixelate this one. I thought, as much as I never wanted to see that photo again, I'll now put it up on 2 massive screens at a conference. So that was one thing I learned. Always use a work laptop. And when Lee asked me today, do you want me to use your own laptop or this one? I said, use this one. Most definitely. So the winning design was the downstream. The work actually started last Friday. The pipe machine turned up today, some 5 years and 4 months after we started design. Probably the longest project I've ever worked on. There was 13 official road designs, of which there was only one. Some 185 odd AutoCAD drawings and 300 odd layouts. Many, PDFs are just the final ones, the ones I recreated, I have no idea, and possibly enough paper to build the bridge anyway, the amount of stuff I did on it. There's around 30 reports. In terms of heritage, anyone working on heritage sites, plan ahead. I spent 4 or so years just getting heritage stuff. The last 18 months it's just been getting 2 reports ready so we could actually start the bridge. So it's a very long program. I have to say visualisation is a wonderful tool. Some of the things I've learned, all the peers, I couldn't work out how to do them. I got on the forum. And someone had mentioned something about pipes. I thought, oh yeah, so I just drew a pipe vertically. They became the piers, nice and simple. No extrusions, none of that. Some other things I've learned with 12D, naming conventions. I'm pretty obsessive compulsive with names. Everything's got a prefix. It just makes it easy to find stuff. Certainly if you're looking for your design streams, you know, hit D, hold your one above the plus, hit D, or your design layers come up. That sort of thing is good. I used to be from Civil Code, as Lee said, so everything was 8 characters or less. There was nothing more, so it was all these cryptic D1s plus whatever. Now you can use long file names. You should use them unless your company's already obviously said you've got conventions to sit by. As 12D's evolved, the process has become a lot easier. Chains are a great help. Usually you'd have to go through your recalc all and turn model functions on and off. Now you can just chain everything. Version 9 looks really good. The MTFD editor makes it a lot easier. And as I said, the forum is a really good place to find any help. So certainly the amount of posts, I think I've helped a few people, a lot of people have helped me, so I certainly advise everyone to use it. And of course what I should have known was, saying the obvious, don't use your own laptop. When you run a public meeting, most of the time nothing embarrassing will happen, but of course sometimes it can. Thank you.